Welcome to Tea Time, the South Yorkshire Kill Team podcast. Grab a brew, lock in your tack ops, and let's talk Kill Team. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the South Yorkshire Kill Team podcast. Again, the second episode, coming very fast after last week's episode with Tom Shaw. This week, it's a pleasure, my pleasure, and an honour to introduce Mr. Jack Shaw. Hooray! Hello, Jack.
I don't have anywhere near as much as exciting nickname as my older brother.
Oh, you do. So, for anyone who doesn't know, Jack is a member of our community. Goes by the handle on Instagram, JTrain. That's what you go as.
It's JTrain Painting. Is me.
Yeah, so it is. I thought that was a nickname from school, you know.
It wasn't. No, a friend
No?
gave me that nickname a long time ago.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
Because my name is Jack, which is very short, and you don't get a lot of nicknames off it. I was complaining I didn't have a nickname, and somebody said JTrain, and it's semi-stuck.
Ah, I see. So for anyone outside of our little circle who doesn't know Jack, Jack again is a member of our community. Has been around probably since the early days of South Yorkshire Kill Team. Jack would specialise, I think this is the nicest way of saying this, specialises in sculpting, modelling, kitbashing, hobbying, and then secondly into the game side of stuff, because you played quite a bit. Is that what you describe yourself as? Would you describe yourself as a modeller?
Yeah, I think a modeller's quite universal. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think modelling is definitely my passion in the hobby.
Yeah.
I think I saw a great thing the other day on Instagram of the four corners of the hobby. I think modelling is definitely the aspect that I lean towards the most. So I would describe myself as a modeller more than a gamer.
Yeah, describe yourself as a model. I can understand how that works. So one of the reasons why I wanted Jack on, not just because he's got a really subtle voice and he's really good looking, it's because some of the kit bashing stuff, you've helped me quite a bit as well, as some people may know, with some of the proxy stuff for the upcoming Death Watch team. With obviously I'm doing Death kits. How many kit bashes have you done now in your time? Hundreds?
Dozens. I don't know that I've done hundreds, but dozens and dozens. I know Kitbashed kill teams I've done 11, I believe, and I only own between me and my brother, I think we own about 13. So I've only ever done 2 that are not.
Yeah. What's your favourite team you've done, or the favourite team you've changed? Kitbash.
I love them all. They're all my children. But I would say my Vet Guard are the ones I really broke the back of, where I went the furthest with them. But I would say my Inquisition are the ones I would say I'm most proud of, because I took the brief and went the furthest with it. That's the one where always a source of pride for me is when somebody asks if I've used a 3D print or where they could get that 3D print, and I had the most comments around the Inquisition as that one, because the models were so far away from the base, which that was a... So yeah, I would say my Inquisition.
Yeah. So what do you play? What if you was a main? What would you say your main is?
I've been in a weird loop for a while, I would say, just because last edition, and I played much more last edition. I played Vet Guard in the beginning. That's when I met SYKTea, and that's when I met Declan, back when it was much smaller. And then I shifted into Inquisition, and I just played Inquisition, and I mained that for a lot of games. I took them to a lot of tournaments. I did quite well with them. And then this edition, I've really bounced around, I'll be honest. I haven't found anything. At the moment, I'm playing Brood, and I enjoy Brood, but I consider myself an open agent. You know, if something comes along that I think I might like more, I might shift across. So, but at the moment, the easiest answer is I play Brood.
Do you find it, and this is more me asking questions, I guess, rather than what people want to hear. But how do you get into? Because I know you obviously see a team, and I know you get thoughts about what you want to do in proxy. How does that process start for you? Do you see something cool? And I think you've said this. You said it before to me, where you pick up on something in the lore, and then you kind of match a part in the lore to a book to a new team, and you kind of make the idea out of that. How do you come up with the ideas? Is there a process for you?
Yeah. Well, yeah, for me, the start point for any model and any conversion and for everything I've ever really done comes from the story. I have a story in my mind, and I kind of I build up from there. I was very lucky, that during COVID and a little bit after, I worked nationally, so I used to do a lot of driving. I really like an audiobook, so I went through. You could look at my Audible, and I think there's the better part of 400 or 500 titles on there. I went through, 500 Black Library books. That's a lot of narrative, and from that, there's so many parts that they read and they write that there's these little subtle elements of the 41st millennium that they don't talk about that much, but are very interesting. But they don't talk about it because it's not Space Marines or anything. And I just store those away, and I store those away, I store those away. I used to write them down. I don't so much anymore, but and then when these teams come out, I look at the team and kind of look at the the aspects of the team when it comes to their rules, so how their rules could be interpreted, and then I look at the silhouettes of the models because that's quite important is to keep the silhouette, and then I kind of build from there. So it's that's where I pick it from mostly.
Yeah. Do you have any examples of it where you've still actually I know you've described some bits to me, but some of the kitbashes you've done are that significant to a part in the lore.
Oh, so if we take, say, for example, my sanctifiers, I saw them and saw that their rules were a lot about this kind of this cult mentality of working around one person and kind of that this the whole sanctifiers team and a lot of the theme of it is that this confessor, the rest of the team are there to support him and to make him function, and whether they like him, love him, despise him, whatever, they're all there for him. And that kind of brought up in my head of, well, what other areas of 40k are there these individuals and then they're surrounded individuals, and they have these many different function areas, and that's where I settled onto, and I really like the idea of navigators, because Navigator House, the Navistability, they have these individual navigators, but when in so many of the books I've read, you have these navigators surrounded by coteries of like medical staff just to keep them going. You have these house guards, these varying different like life wards. You have these trophies and stuff that they're given that they basically walk around with them. And that kind of it went from there, and that kind of lent itself into the rules of obviously the sanctifiers have this kind of divine purpose, and they're pulling down like the emperor's power, whereas the navigators themselves are psychic beings and they have limited psychic powers. So
Hmm.
it works thematically in my head with that. The models work there. It's still human, so the silhouettes are going to work, and that's kind of how I went with it,
Mm,
and
it's good.
that's how I do it.
I find it fascinating how this process grows because I'm not a kit basher. I'm a painter. I can paint to an adequate standard. So I've always wanted to dabble into the kit bashing stuff, and you do little bits at the early days, don't you, where you swap a weapon. And
Yeah,
then I think I just recently got into the kit bashing kind of side of the hobby. And I think what makes it addictive is the uniqueness and the
yeah,
story you can tell just from. I mean, one of my models, for example, is like the Auspex guy I've built for the new Death Watch stuff, and because it's orcs, you can kind of mismatch stuff together. But the story's telling itself just by the position of the head. The head's looking down at the hand. The hand's got a orky Auspex in his hand, and all of a sudden now you're starting to copy the similar silhouette to one of the guys in the main team, and so it's just building that scene, as you like to say. You say it's like building the scene and telling the
mm,
story through it. Which I find your models do exactly. Yeah, I find your models do exactly that. I think when
yeah,
people look at your stuff, especially on Instagram, people will look through your stuff, and you can tell just by looking at it. Because you also put bits of text on the bottom, don't you? You put a little bit of lore to it and a little bit of generic kind of. I don't know if
yeah.
it's generic, it's not the word, but it's more. You put a bit of flavour to it, don't you? How does that come about? Is that you? Is that you? Is that you just
Yeah.
writing?
Yeah, so exactly, um, pre Warhammer. I used to be very into Dungeons and Dragons. I still am semi, but I used to be into Dungeons and Dragons because I think I've always had a fairly active imagination,
Yeah,
and that came from writing a lot of stories. And exactly what you've just mentioned there. When these models are, I think the story in the beginning is what makes me start the model, but then as I'm starting to build them and little aspects of the model and how their emotions show through the model, that then it spouts a story of its own. And I used to do it for a long time. I don't do it as much anymore, but I still try to because I know people like them. Is I used to paint for several hours, and then I would spend an hour winding down just writing a story of what I had just painted or what I had just sculpted or created. I would write just a little bit, just a snippet. I People constantly ask me about whether I'm trying to write a short story, I'm trying to write a book. It's never my intention. It's always just a tiny snippet of here's how this gunfight would go between this guy and somebody else.
yeah,
And then it's 3 paragraphs and then it's over. I very
yeah.
rarely ever write anything longer than that.
You see, I find when I go for your Instagram, it's always interesting because I look at the models, and the models are obviously the candy. They're the things that catch you. And then I think also what happens is when the viewer looks at a model, I think people interpret it quite like to their own persona. So I can look at some of your stuff, and I've already started going in this imaginary world about it's like your servitors and stuff for your battle clade, and because they're a little bit different, um, I start to picture what world they would be on and how they would function. Are they any different to say the standard servitors and stuff like that? And then when you read the bit of text that you put underneath it that explains obviously again the environment and the setting and the story that's with it, it changes. So like it's such a mad kind of 5 minutes looking at it because before you know it, you've gone in with like this different persona and you're leaving with a different persona as well. And I think if you can do that, if you can tell stories through picture and through a bit of text, I think that works wonders. Um, I've just made a display board which I've posted around, and I know you helped me with that, which was fantastic. Thank you for that. We came up with, and it was you who were talking about it, about adding these little elements to tell the story. So from a plain background and a plain floor, add in a scene, add in posters, add in little bits of detail that people walk round and they go, oh, look at that, look at this, and I think that those little details is what makes it just a bit more flavourful and just add it up.
Absolutely so. I would, and you only have to look at, which is where I've always taken a lot of my inspiration. Look at some of the great painters and some of the great Golden Demon winners. They've always said that what has made them stand out are those subtle story elements, those subtle elements of this is not out of the box. This is not a manufactured thing of there's 10,000 like this. Mine stood out and I won the trophy because I showed a snapshot of that world. I showed what it looked like. And exactly what you were just saying there, with obviously your board that you'd made first was fine, but it wasn't a real place because there was just two two units at the back, and then there
Yeah,
was that glowing thing, and that was it. But you've got, and it's that mindset to get yourself into of if 1,000 people a day were walking down this hallway, would it look like that? No, it wouldn't, because they would put things on the walls. They would slap. There would be dirt on the ground. There would be this here. There would be, you can change a whole scene by putting a plastic cup on the side because somebody has just left a drink there.
yeah,
It's and it makes it. It goes from being a model to being something real, to being a
yeah,
believable place. And I think if you can take somebody there, it it it'll jackknife what your. No matter how good your painting is, you'll get nothing but success if you can show
yeah.
somebody a story that they can read with their eyes.
Yeah, also just to move on to another topic, which is always a funny one. I say this. One of the things we've talked about over the last few days is obviously our relationship is me coming to you and saying, "Hey Jack, I've got this really cool idea," and I think then I ignite your fire, and you're like, "That sounds cool, but have you considered this?" And then I'll
Yeah,
say, "That's awesome. What do you think to this?" And before you know it, me and you have gone 4 or 5 messages deep, into this random ass idea that I've manufactured in my head, and we've come to this I'll say compromise, but we've come to this alternative kind of middle ground that is such a cooler, more in-depth idea, which I think builds up to. And you were saying that one of the positive things sometimes, especially in our relationships, a really good way of showing it is when you've got someone to bounce ideas off, and you take what they're saying and you react to it. So
Yeah,
I could have quite easily, when I came to you with the board, and just gone, ah, fucking hell, I'm not doing this. I'm happy with this. I don't want to do much to it. But taking other people's opinions on board, and not having this ego, shall we say. I don't want you to stroke my ego, Jack. I actually want you to tell me what I can do to do this better, and then
yeah.
from you can give the information then without like upsetting people, so to speak. Because you don't want to upset people, but you also don't want to lie to them. There's been quite a few display boards we've seen in the past where you're like, everyone's like, "That's amazing," and you're just like, "Hmm."
Yeah, I never want to upset anyone ever, and that's why. But there's nothing more non-committal than someone showing you a model and you giving them a thumbs up or going, "Yeah, looks great," because they're not. If you trust and you have seen the body of work of that creator, you've obviously seen mine. And I surround myself in my own personal life with some very talented hobbyists, and I aspire to be as good as them. If I show them a model, if they just go, "Oh yeah, looks great," they're not giving me anything. But I've been lucky enough, and it's what I'm trying to foster with a couple of people at SYKT. Unfortunately, not everybody takes it well. Unfortunately, there are some people that are too locked in that mindset of what I'm doing is great, and unfortunately, I don't believe that that's a great place to grow. I think you need to be very open to what people say to you. But yeah, I think when somebody can sit there and go, "I think what you're doing is fine, but here's where I would improve things. Here's where I would. Your eye is not being drawn here, and you want it to be." The Ratlins board that I did very recently, and I was very proud of it. It's just downstairs at the moment, but it'll be in Warhammer World soon.
Yeah,
Um, I sent that across to a good couple of my friends. One of those is a Golden Demon winner. Another couple have had several of their models in the Warhammer Museum. Very, very talented people.
yeah,
And they went through it with me and said, "You could improve here. This looks great, but you can improve here. That column at the back could do with a few more highlights. This, the run on the Ogren is not quite believable. Make it a little further back." And everything they said was right, was very true. And it was one of those of, yeah, sometimes that feedback is not great because you might have to start from the beginning, or you think you're at the end of something and the feedback suddenly tells you actually you've got more to go.
yeah,
But I think if you want to improve, it's important to listen to that and work on it and accept it and go from there. I don't think you improve by being in a bubble. I truly don't. I think the way I've improved, and I've seen so many other people improve, is by forming these little communities, talking to people, and saying to them, "How would you improve this?" And then taking that information, because there's a thousand people that ask me every year, "How would you improve this, Jack?" I tell them, and they do nothing with it. They're not interested in it. They were actually just after a shallow compliment for me to go, "Yeah, it looks great," and that's all they wanted because they think they're doing the best work. It's
yeah.
I think if somebody tells you something, you should take it away. Take it away and go, "Okay, why did they think that?" And then make your own opinion on it. What
Yeah, I
I
think.
told you about your display board
Yeah,
wasn't something you weren't already thinking yourself.
yeah. I think it's. I also think the terminology people use also is wrong. I think you touched on it there, where I think there's enough people in the world that really want. Look at this thing that I've made that I'm really proud of. Be proud of me. And the way that comes across, or the way people word that phrase, is, what do you think to this?
Yeah,
So, and then of course, from your perspective, you don't know. I mean, you know now, but generally, you take that question as in, give me your opinion. And of course, when you are knowledgeable in an area, you give people that obviously feedback. And like you say, it starts to circle on them because they start to think, oh, he's slagging it off. And it's not that you're slagging it off at all. It's just because you've highlighted something, or you've told, you've given this feedback that could improve it. Wrong or right, 9 out of 10 times it'll probably be right. Um, but some people take it really to heart, as if you're like disowning something they've made, and they're quite respectable for it. So it's very
It's a
interesting, isn't it?
personal hobby.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Criticism,
personal hobby, and you put a lot of work into it. And a lot of people see these models as their children. I'm no different, but I think you just have to get over that hurdle of that someone's opinion is not criticism. When I give people feedback, I'm never criticizing your work. You've done great. You've done better than 99% of people because you've actually done a thing.
yeah,
There's a gazillion people that have grey armies. You haven't. You've done a thing. I'm just trying to impart some of my own knowledge because I've made similar mistakes. How
yeah,
I would improve that thing. That's all I'm trying to get across to you. I'm not saying anything positive or negative, but unfortunately, and I have found it a lot, and it's why I, to an awful lot of people, unfortunately, I don't give the level of feedback you and I are going backwards and forwards with at the moment, because I've unfortunately found that people do take it as a negative, and then they look on me as a different person because they think I've just insulted their work.
yeah. Just
It's not the
really
case.
upset him. People just like, oh, that Jack, I showed him. I've just spent 40 hours on this piece, and I showed Jack, and he says I should paint the shoes. Just, it is
I
quite
mean,
funny.
I had a very similar instance where I was at a tournament. I won't say where, I won't say when, but I was at a tournament. I won best painted. Somebody asked me afterwards what they could do to improve. I spoke with them for about 15 minutes about a couple of things that they could change, where they could really, improve. I then found out 2 months later from feedback from somebody. They're like, I didn't think it was fair that he won best painter, then he slagged my models off for 10 minutes. But I didn't.
Just,
I was just trying to help. That's all I was trying to do. And it was just, yeah, that person unfortunately had gone to this event under the opinion that they were going to win.
yeah,
When I did, they didn't want my feedback. They wanted me to go, no, yours are great, buddy. You should have won. That's what they wanted from me. They didn't want my feedback. And then they
yeah.
took. So, I just, if there's one thing I would try and impart with this podcast and my whole opinion with these things is just try and get past that. Try and get past that, and just the people are not trying to insult you.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
just trying to help you on your journey.
I think it's important, isn't it? I used to read some books in regards to the way people receive feedback, because all feedback is positive feedback, positive or negative in regards to its context. But you, as a person, receiving feedback in whatever the topic it is, in this case it's hobbying, um, having that feedback is perception on someone else, and I think people spending the time to give you that feedback should be valued, positive or
Yeah,
negative. You can react. You can choose how you want to take that reaction. You don't have to be massively negative, as in that story you were saying there. Some people you don't have to take it. If you don't want someone's opinion, just ignore it, or just say thank you and never revisit it again. It's not the end of the world. So it's very interesting how it works. The one question I did want, because I was asking people in our community about what would we ask Jack on the podcast. I got loads of weird questions as well about your shoe size and stuff, but we won't go into them. Um,
sure.
but but we wanted to know, if you was a new, um, let's say you were into the hobby, you've just come in. How would you start with kitbashing? Here's me. I want to do a unique model. I have no skill. I've never done this before. Where would you start?
Get models out and try something. That's all I ever did. Um, I started in 2020, and I always knew I wanted to kitbash. I've always known that I wanted to make my models unique. I don't really like stuff out of the box. I think it needs to have the in the cringiest way possible the Jack Shaw touch on it, so that
Hey,
you know that I've done something with it.
yeah,
Um, and that began by just buying a lot of models, cutting them up and butchering them, and making terrible kit bashes. I have an attic full of miserably bad kit bashes, which just didn't work because proportions were off, or I wasn't a good enough sculptor to try what I was attempting, or I tried to get too many elements onto one person, or I ignored an aspect and I tried to cover it over with something rather than, needling into it and going, why doesn't that work? I tried to hide it, and I wasted a lot of money. I won't say that I didn't waste a lot of money, and I would warn anyone: kit bashing is expensive. You're
Yeah,
finding that out now, and I'm lucky it's not that expensive for me anymore. But I did a lot of work in the beginning. One thing I always used to tell people when you're getting into kit bashing is if you like the head of, say, for example, because I bought the kit 4 or 5 different times now. I've never once made one of the models, but the Gene Steel Cultist regular miniatures. Um, I used to really like their chest torsos. I think the ribbing work looks great. It has a very industrial feel to it. I used to buy the whole box, and then I would only use like 2 or 3 of their chests. But then I would just have the whole box, and then when I did the next kit bash, if I was like, oh, cool, I might need an auto gun. Okay, I can go back to this kit where I basically have all the pieces. And then, but I'll buy this other kit, say, for example, like the Cadians. I'll buy those because I want one of their heads.
yeah.
And that has led to, don't get me wrong, I have thousands of pounds in sprues. I have
Just
an
hundreds. I've seen some of them.
extraordinarily,
Yeah.
yeah, I have an extraordinarily large amount of bits, way
Yeah.
more than any hobbyist would ever need. I would, I bet a lot of money in SYKT. I have more bits than anybody going.
Yeah, I would
Um,
agree. It's funny though, because I obviously when we were talking about Mikey Bash, you just brought this bag of org bits. I've still got bits here. I need to bring it back to you. But I've got tons of just these, and there's just bits of kit. Just like I mean, there were mega knobs in there. There were flash gits in there. There's random grots in there. It's just it's stuff you've accumulated, haven't you, over the time?
I just, um, I used to buy a lot in the beginning, and then I personally thought that the best way that for me to become a better painter was to hire myself out to do commissions very cheap. It wasn't. Don't take that advice. It didn't work out. But I used to do commissions very cheaply for nearly 2 years, and that got me lots of bits because obviously these people would send me full kits. I would paint them, and I would just have more and more, and I accumulated it more and more and more, and now I have a plethora style toolbox. But that didn't happen overnight. That's what I would say to anyone. There's
Yeah,
an awful lot of kit bashes I could do right now, and I've got the bits. I have, over 300 odd blank Space Marines in this house across different
just that
marks.
many of them.
I couldn't think how many heads I have. I have. If there's a model going of any range, there's a good chance I have bits of it somewhere in this house. I can't think that there's a faction in 40k, in big 40k, I couldn't make one of their base troopers from just bits I have in this house. So, but that didn't happen overnight. I did a lot of work to get there, and I'm very proud of the stuff I have because it makes kit bashing very easy when you have all these tools. But I would just say to people, start small, add a little bits here and there, try some bits here and there, set out with a vision. That always helps. Is have an idea in your head of kind of what you want something to look like, and then if you get close to that, well done, because it took me a long time to have a vision and then make that vision. I
Yeah,
made lots of things for the first couple of years that didn't look anything like that vision.
yeah. What are you working on at the moment? You got ideas in your head about what you're doing now, or?
I always have ideas. Flooded with ideas.
Yeah.
I have an Excel spreadsheet. I put things on. I'm on row like 500 plus for
Oh
just
wow.
this would be a cool idea. This would be a cool idea. And when
Yeah,
I have spare time, I go in there and I pull stuff out. But at the moment, I'm doing a Space Wolf proxy team for the Nemesis Claw because obviously my older brother is quite famous for his Nemesis Claw, and he
yes.
wanted a proxy team. I wanted to do. I haven't sculpted beards in ages, and I kind of felt like it. So all of these guys have sculpted beards to just make them look more Space Wolfy. So I'm doing that.
Yeah,
Um, I'm working on a Terminator Ancient that I had a fun idea for, and I just made him in a night, and I'm just painting him in my Bronze Dragon scheme, which is
yeah,
it's really easy to paint. That's why I did it. I've got a bust from a friend of mine in Germany that I'm working on, and I'm having a lot of fun with that. And that's about it. After that's done, I think I'm just going to. There's a couple of models that came out a while ago, and I just want to put my own unique touch on them because I can't not. And then just paint them nice. Just do some nice paint jobs, and I imagine by the end of that journey, there'll be a new kill team, there'll be a new thing, there'll be a new something, and I'll have to do that. In 2 weeks, I've got to paint that Tomb World stuff when that comes out.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's
I'm ex-
on a complete side note. Have you heard what your Tom's new nickname is, by the way?
I've not, no,
No,
no.
no, no. The he's going to call himself from next year Lagara.
Lagara, what's that?
Yeah, it's Spanish for the claw.
Oh, Christ. No, he's building some nicknames, is my older brother.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. You come up with some of them, don't you, as well? Some of them you come up with. It's quite fun.
I did pen this morning. Hopefully it takes off. Tom the Gauze Shaw.
The
Hopefully that
girls.
takes off. Now he doesn't mind goremongers, but no, I didn't come up with a claw. I didn't come up with Batlord. So no, it's nice that he's enjoying it. It's nice that my models are getting a whole new lease on life by going with him to all these tournaments. I wish he didn't break them as much as he does, but um,
It is so funny listening to you two just showing brotherly love to each other when you're like, ah, you destroyed your models again. And
yeah,
you're just going balmy with them.
yeah, it's a bit of jest. I don't mind. He gets a lot of fun out of them.
Yeah,
They're not hard to repair when he brings them back. They're normally in one or two pieces, and it's easy enough to get them back together. If he was as genuinely as rough as I make him out to be, I would pin the models, but I don't do that. So
yeah,
it's nice that the models get out because I have a lot of models in this house that very rarely ever get out. Um, which is sad, really. It's very much what kind of brought me into Kill Team was I was doing all these kit bashes and all this painting, and I was never doing anything with them, and I was
yeah,
just collecting them and collecting them and collecting them and collecting them, and I was never doing anything, and that's what kind of led me to meet Declan, go down to the outpost when there was like 4 people, and actually start playing Kill Team.
I can't remember when we first met. I think we met at a hobby workshop. No, it was Peniston Gaming, wasn't it? When we were, I think
I
it was
believe
a
so,
release of
yeah.
Hivestorm, and you
It
were just
was, yeah.
sat in the corner sculpted away, and now we're like,
Was it? Yeah.
I was playing
It
Vetguard at the time, wasn't
Yeah, I never met you during second edition. I used to just I went down and had my first game of KT against a buddy of mine with breaches because I started in like Into the Dark, and
I? Yeah,
I played against him with breaches with my vet guard. Got smashed. Went against Declan when Declan used to play Blooded, and got smashed. Went against Ryan when he used to play Commandos, smashed.
yeah.
Um, Then I went against a chap who no longer plays at the team, at the club, and I think he was on his. I always forget the old our team names, but it was the one that came out during the Octarus days. It's like Hand of the
Corsairs.
Archon. Yeah, Corsairs. There you go.
Corsairs. Yeah,
Beat him, and that was my first victory in KT.
yeah,
And yeah, I just went from there. I used to just go down with my vet guard, play against people as the teams came out more and more and more. And then yeah, I had the pleasure of meeting you. And see, this new season's been a bit strange for me. I'll be honest, because I don't think I've really dived into it half as much as I did last edition. But
yeah,
last last edition was quite different for me. I didn't have children back then, so I could be there a bit more active than I can
yeah.
now.
Life's a bit crazy. On a side note, do you know the only medal that your brother hasn't won is probably one that he's going to struggle to win is the best painted medal
Yes,
because
yes, I'm very well aware.
he won't enter your models, which is great. Uh,
No,
it's funny.
no, it just as I think the fun thing always about Tom is that he appreciates nice models,
Yeah,
but it's something he barely ever thinks about. So we obviously talk, 'cause we're brothers, and I ask him about the tournaments he goes to. Very rarely does he ever tell me that, oh, I played against this nice team here or this team, because it's a fascinating, because we obviously were raised in the same house. All I think about in the hobby is models. When I play against other people, I look at their models, I talk to them about how they painted it. When I go to events, I get quite involved with the best painted. I really have a look around. I talk to the people that won the trophies or did the display boards and get into it. And that really fascinates me. How I placed on the actual tournament very rarely bothers me. I've won a couple. It doesn't really bother me that much. It never has. Tom is quite the opposite. I know a number of them he goes to. He doesn't vote in Best Painted. He couldn't tell me who won Best Painted. All he cares about is the ranking for thing, and I think that's just the dichotomy of people playing games. Is everybody's doing it for different reasons.
Yeah, no, I agree. Which is great. I mean, let's move on a little bit as well to talk about. Usually on the podcast we talk about any recent events, and I talked with your Tom last week, and we talked about a lot of the events. And then, since last week to now, obviously talking about Best Painted and Deadwood, me, your brother Tom, and Deck, we went over to the thing Deadwood Invitational, which is sort of like the return from the John Invitational, which I know you come and did some voting for us and stuff as well for Painted. But your Tom finished second in that. It was a quite a good day at the Deadwood event. I think let me just have a look. I think the winner of it was Deck with his Inquisition. He beat me, fucker.
I'm told you didn't take that loss well.
Oh, I did not. I did not. So, I mean, I'll go through it. I mean, the first was obviously Deck, and then it's your Tom, and then third one was Connor Meacham, which is no surprising.
He's a very good player.
Yeah, he's fantastic. I finished 8th because I went 1 and 2, which is fine because again those 2 games I lost, I struggled because it was Inquisition and Heretic, which those type of matches are always difficult. Yeah, there are teams to beat just because of it. But my first game was against a banana. I think it was against Luke. He was playing Blooded. The idea of this event was people would play something different or something you have fun with. So obviously Deck turned up with his main team. I turned up with Exaction. Your Tom turned up with Gold.
So you turn up with your main team as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I were playing. It was like fancy dress as well. So Luke were dressing up as a banana. So it was really funny to sit there and talk to a banana at the same time. The Blooded game itself was quite fun. I've never really played Blooded. I'm gonna say you've played. You ever played Blooded, or have you've
played Blooded a lot? Yeah, it used to be Declan's main team. So when I originally met him, he was Mr. Blooded, and he was very good at it. So I learned a lot of tricks against Blooded. I know Blooded very well.
Yeah.
They're an interesting team. I think I like Vetguard, but Vetguard are a hard team because they have lots of working pieces, because they have 14 models, and a lot of their working pieces work because of synergies. So Operative A needs to be near Operative B to make them really good. Blooded is just like that, and they have other chaosy elements on top of that. So I would say they're to be played at a high level, like I used to see Declan do a lot of the time. They are a very heavy mental load. I would say for Blooded. I'm sad that they're leaving us because they were a genuinely fun team. But yes, I know. To answer the question, I do know Blooded quite well.
Yeah, I mean, but Luke, when I played Luke, it was Luke's first time, so I was trying to be respectful as well, just the fact that he was learning the team, and I didn't go full pelt, and so to speak, but the scores did. Unfortunately, Luke fell apart, and he was more having fun, which was great, and it ended up with a really big win to me. But Luke were great, good laugh. We enjoyed the game as such. There was one point where I were rolling my hits and I rolled 3 crits, and he were rolling his saves and rolled 3 ones. And I think there's a photo floating around of that. I was like, how are the chances? It was quite funny. And then we move on from the first game, which was fine. So obviously I won the Exaction matchup against Blooded. Deck did really well into Wormblade, which was good. Your Tom did well. That was probably the sweatiest game in the lineup, which was your Tom on Goremongers for a change instead of on the Lagara, instead of being on his Claw. And he were playing Mr. Worldwide, Mr. Golden GT, Elliot Rushton, who again was playing.
Yeah, he just can't get away from my brother, can he?
No. It was so funny watching them guys just connect eyes when they realise they're playing each other. And he was playing Raveners, which obviously is an interesting matchup. But I was next to him when they were playing, and they you couldn't talk to them. They were really on it. They were really kind of pushing out. Say it's supposed to be a bit of fun. They just But Tom won that one. Quite a close game by the look of it, 16-13. But Elliot's fantastic. Shout out to Elliot. I know he'll probably listen to this, and
I've had
after
the pleasure of playing Elliot in the past,
yeah,
back when he used to play Lucian Starstriders, and he was a very good player. He was
yeah, yeah,
very fun.
yeah. He keeps on inviting me on a narrowboat though. I don't understand why.
Well,
I just don't find him his. I do Elliot. He's great. He's a good laugh. And then moving on to the second game. This is where obviously I'd finished my game, kind of freshened up a little bit, and the pairings come out, and I realised who I had, and obviously Deck. So me and Deck, I've probably played Deck the most in my entire time playing Kill Team, and I played Deck when I could beat Deck, and now I'm at a position where Deck just powers me. Like he will play Inquisition, or you'll play a really complex team. I just can't track. So me and Deck can't play casual. We can't. We say
no.
we do, and we start on. And I know you take the mic a little bit, and you say, "Oh yeah, you start off as been a bit fun, and it's never fun until Johnny gets an angle on you or whatever." Because I'm just a casual player, as you know. I'm just casual.
You are the king of Johnny Casuals,
Yeah.
which for the listeners is I'm just having fun. I'm just messing around while you're losing, and then as soon as you start to win, it's as if your life is on the line. You suddenly seem to focus, stop talking. Suddenly a half an inch matters when you're winning, but when you're losing, we're all just having fun. We're all just messing around. We're all just. You are the original Johnny Casual.
Yeah.
I played enough games where you're like, we're just having a mess about Jay, and then when you've got an angle on something, you're like, stop talking to me. Let's lock in.
But see, this is where the problem lied with Deck, because I knew as soon as I saw his name, me and Deck are not gonna, we're gonna go full hell for leather, and I always talk to Deck about, because Deck's never won an event before, so all of a sudden, Deck's in this position where he's playing a strong team, he's come up against me, and I think in Deck's thinking, if I lose to Johnny here, I'm never gonna know the end of it, so there was no banter. It was full send. It was like, and it were hard to do, because obviously, in when I look at the matchup, I still can't figure out Inquisition. I just don't know how you beat them, just because they've got an answer to everything. Like, they've got good strategy ploys. They can stop you from doing what you want to do. They can rotate their auxiliaries, so I'm going to take this type of team. They can swap out to match that. They've just got so much. No, nope, I'm doing this. No, I can counter this. And I think I played it wrong as well. I think going into the dark on, I think it was Power Surge. I think the point was. It was just really difficult to get anywhere near and to do much damage. So Deck won the game, and I'm happy for Deck. I am. I need to go back to the drawing
You
board.
sound it.
No, I was happy for him, because I think it was very much um, a moment in this tournament where if that game had gone the other way, I think Deck would have got ready to blow up. So instead of him blowing up, he went on and won, and went on to win the tournament, where I, on the other hand, kind of sulked a little bit. And then, so that was the second game, which was great. I forget who your Tom had. I think your Tom had Luke, who I played previously, which
He
was
did indeed,
really,
yeah. Yeah.
which was
He said
really,
he had a good game.
yeah, it was really funny watching him though, because obviously your Tom's got a really serious demeanour, and
Yes.
watching him play a banana is quite funny, because he was dressed up as a banana again. So it was quite funny just watching how serious Tom were compared to Luke, who was
Yeah, he said he
obviously.
had a really great game against the chap. He said it
Yeah,
was.
yeah, yeah. It's
Solid
good.
play.
It was a good laugh. It was a good laugh from what Tom was telling me. And then we move on to the last game for myself, which I drew against Haratek. And Haratek are just a different level, and it was just absolutely crazy going up against them. I haven't played them properly here at Tech this season. I've kind of dodged them. I played them in the early days against Nix, and we played, and I played in Wreckers at the time, and then I beat Nix, and then Nix beat me, and then that's kind of last time I played them. So going into this against Pete, and shout out to Pete. Pete's fantastic. He's come to a lot of the South Yorkshire Kill Team events. We always have a lot of time for him. He's fantastic. He's a lovely guy, and he's trying obviously Hero Tech out. And yeah, I just got stomped. Like they when they shoot you, there's no surviving. If you're giving them a shot, which at some point in the term you do, and I think I went too aggressive early on. I feel like Hero Tech, if they shoot you, you're dead. The piercing
That's
one.
yeah. That's
Force.
where I
Force.
tend to find that most people fall down against the teams you just mentioned there: Hyrotech, Inquisition, Warp Coven when they were a thing. The wins I've got is just being cagey. It's just you can't be aggressive into them because they want you to be aggressive, but when you're not aggressive, they have to change up their play style. Hyrotech will sit back all day and have a great gun line and win the game, but if you force them to move by going, I'm running contain, I'm going to
Yeah.
stay here. If you don't come over, I've come forward enough in good cover to play the crit up well.
Yeah.
You've got to come to me. They'll start to make mistakes. I would say the same for Inquisition. If you force them to be aggressive, they can play aggressive, but if
Yeah.
that's not what they thought the game was going to be, you can get them on the right foot.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I've tended to find with those teams. But they're hard matchups. I won't say that they're not hard matchups. Hyrotech is a truly phenomenal team right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it was difficult. But again, Pete was amazing, and I love playing Pete. So it's not too bad when you're losing to people you like on these teams. And Pete wasn't on like going hardcore or anything. But I think Pete has said on numerous occasions as well that he felt dirty. He felt like he needed to go and wash his hands afterwards playing Irritech because of how strong they were.
They have a rep, yeah.
So I can understand it. I definitely can understand it. And then I think let's have a look. Where did your Lagara paid Ben Palin? So we again Gormongers versus Blades of Cain. Tom said that match went well and he enjoyed it. I think he was talking a bit about the Alpha Strike with the leader of Gormongers, which I think did work, which is fantastic for Tom. And then the last match was Alex Walsh playing Legionary versus Dex Inquiz, which again Deck won. So end of the tournament, obviously Deck had come out first. Tom Lagara came up second, and then Connor Meacham came third. I didn't get a chance to talk to Connor. He was playing Exaction as well. But yeah, Connor did really well. Connor always does well. He's a good player, which is
Yeah,
good.
he's certainly a strong player.
And then obviously best painted. I walked away with best painted as well with the diorama we talked about, which was really good. There was a best dressed, which was fun. We all got dice, all got measuring sticks. Really good. I think we had some food as well at dinner time. They ordered in some sandwiches and stuff, which was really good. And obviously Element Game. You've been to Element Games a few times, haven't you, in your time?
Yeah. I've played there quite a bit. I've only been to one tournament there, which wasn't a kill team tournament, so I've never had the pleasure of going to a Deadwood event. I really need to. I really need to get over there because I know a couple of the Deadwood lads, and they're really nice guys. So.
Yeah, we loved. And I mean, one of the reasons why we do this podcast is obviously catch people up with the community and stuff. And if you are in the Manchester area, there's quite a few of the Deadwood little communities. There's A&M, Liverpool and Wirral. There's all these guys that are around the Manchester area. They mostly play in the Element Games in Stockport, which is really good. Ollie and L, the two main people that I see arranging these events. I know there are communities, so there's a bunch of them that are all involved. They're all helping out with stuff, and they have a similar vibe to South Yorkshire Kill Team, and we love going over there. They love coming over to us. Yeah, Ollie's a bit of a prat sometimes though, just generally. I know he's going to listen to this and he's going to message me as soon as he hears it, which is funny. Shout out to Ollie. But yeah, so we love Deadwood and we love the guys, and we've got some bits. I mean, moving on to the coming events. Obviously, I think I'm on a bit of a breather now. I've got 2 week off. Well, I say bit of a breather, 2 week off. It's quite funny. But we've got our teams event, Biscuit and Bolt Guns, which is happening in a hobby workshop. Are you coming down for that? You popping in?
Yes, I'll pop in.
Yeah.
Very briefly. I do think, unfortunately, I'm busy during the day. That's why I'm not in a team. But
Yeah.
I think I'll be there in the afternoon just to pop in and say hello.
Yeah. We'll get you to vote on best painting again or something daft like that. Might be an
Yeah,
outage.
that sounds
Might
fine.
be
Yeah.
a shout. Might be a shout. But yeah, we've got Biscuit and Bolt Guns. We've got a few different teams across the communities coming up, which is obviously Deadwood, which has got Elliot and a few other guys. We've got quite a few SYKT. We've got, I think we've got some knots interested as well. I think Mr. Slater's coming, bringing a team up, which means the heavy guns will be loaded. There'll be a lot of people going into it, and then I think that's it for South Yorkshire Kill Team. I'll have a look if there's any other events coming up. Generally, I probably
We're
want to
me
go.
and Tom are at the Warhammer event next
You
weekend, which
are,
is a
yes,
narrative one. I'm very excited for because
yeah,
this will be event number 3 for me for the year, and
free for
I
the
think it
year.
might be, I think it might be the last one I go to this year. I think I might possibly be going to one in December, but that might be it. But yeah, I'm very. I'll have to send you across the narrative rules whether we do something similar in the future because it looks so fun. It looks so.
Colourful.
It takes the whole competitive element out of it because there's so much randomness and RNG, and there's so much like during missions you like stockpile supplies, and then you can take those supplies to a marketplace and buy like buffs or upgrades, and your guys that die during the game might get wounded, they might die completely, so you can't play them in the next game, and you've got to like manage food, and you guys have got to eat, and so it just seems so such a fun little narrative thing. I'm very excited for it. I know Tom's quite excited for it as well. It's the first one of these that we've ever been to, but I'll have to send you that rule pack across because it genuinely looks very fun. It might be just something different to try.
Yeah, I'm
The,
all for that. Yeah.
I think game 2 we've got some 3 and 4 player matches, and there is non-player operatives that are towards the center. So there's like a Tyranid Carnifex and some Tyranid models, and you've kind of got to, while you're playing against each other, you're also playing against these Tyranids in the center and stuff like that. Seems very interesting, very something completely different than what we've been doing.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm all for that, and I think that's a big secret in the community is to try and do other stuff as well, to try and yeah, keep it fresh because the competitive side is obviously a thing, but I think sometimes it's nice to take your foot off the gas, kind of enjoy the company, have fun with it as you go, um, which is I think is great. I mean, also I mean the social aspect of it as well, which I think is a big thing. I know Knots, Jason, shout out to Jason, is I know they've just done a get together socially where they go and sit in the park and stuff and just kind of do something different. Which I think is exactly, it's really important to do so. I know we've got the late night, we're having a late night gaming session, aren't we, at the Outpost at the end of the month.
Yeah,
That's got a hint of socialness to it. I might even have a beer on that night. Might be quite fun. You,
I might myself. I might
if you
myself.
think I forget rules when I'm sober, so wait till I've had a drink. I'll be like, oh yeah, these orcs can fly. It'd be brilliant. It'd be a good laugh.
Yeah. I think I might do something similar. Quite excited to give that a bit of a whirl. As you say, I feel like it's stagnated a bit, but in 2 weeks we're getting the Tomb World. So obviously, second week of September, those Tomb World things, right? That's a whole new kill zone, whole new terrain, all stuff like that.
Yeah,
I think hopefully that'll. I believe I'm making the prediction now. I
yeah.
believe the new tack up crit up cards will release at the same time. So I think that's the game's going to get a real shake up in the next month.
Yeah, and like you said, it is a you can definitely feel the between season vibe that's going around.
Yeah,
So obviously we've got some time off and stuff, and I know there's been all these leaks and all the rest of it, which is always interesting to read, but I don't think it's good for the community because some of the stuff that's coming out would be so much better seeing them the way they intended it. But you're not going to complain. We like to know the stuff coming out for Kill Team and for
yeah,
the hobby in general.
it
So.
builds hype. Yeah,
Yes, yes, I know there's conspiracy theories out there that say, "Oh, DW do it" and all this lot, but I don't know. I'm 50-50 on it. I just think people, I think there's a limitation to how much we should be shown. I think it sets people's expectations, like the Raptors and stuff that's been talked about. We've seen the models now. G-Dubs have openly talked about it, but I think they would have been a fantastic reveal.
yeah. I think it's nice that we got it, and I'm a person that likes to see as much as I can see as soon as I can see it. But then I would also say, and I would argue what you mentioned there is there's a good chance if they're following the same kill team cycle that they've followed for the last 3 seasons, we won't see Raptors and Sisters until May next year. Which, for the people that I know that are very excited about them right now, they're going to be waiting 9 to 10 months for these miniatures. And I think Games Workshop does a lot of smart things in how they release stuff because they don't want to. I think it would be very hard for them as a company to go, here's all these new miniatures, get excited, see you in a year. And if they said on the um, 31st of December, we're going to release what the release schedule looks like for the next year, I think they would be much less popular as a company.
I agree. I agree. It swings and roundabouts, and it's it's horses for courses and what people want to do and believe in these leagues and stuff. I just wish the community was a little bit more honest about what they want and expectations. Like the Deathwatch stuff, we obviously heard the rumours beforehand about Deathwatch, and I think Deathwatch is such a big part of Kill Team, and the game's named after bloody Deathwatch. So having this moment where it gets released. I mean, I'm looking forward to Toon World. To be fair, I've got lots of interesting ideas to do. Obviously, Kitbashing, some other bits, but we'll have to see. We'll see how it goes. And I know, obviously, those new cards are just around the corner as well, aren't there? New maps, new all sorts. So I think Kill Team's about to get a little bit more exciting again, which is exactly what I think the community needs, which is good. Which is good.
Yeah, I would certainly agree.
Cool. Right, well, thank you very much for coming on. Thank you very much for hanging around. If you do want to see any more of Jack's stuff, where do we find you, Jack? On Instagram? What's your handle?
Yes, I'm on Instagram. JTrain Painting is my handle on Instagram. I'm not anywhere else, so that's the only place you can find me there.
I will. I'll get Deck, who's probably editing this. Hello, Deck. What I'll do is I will get him to post links down below for JTrain's Jack's Insta stuff. But do me a favour if you are listening to this and you're obviously looking at Jack's stuff. Just go onto his photos and just say you're from South Yorkshire Kill Team podcast, and Jack will love it.
I'll let you know how many of those I get.
Yeah. All two of them. It'll be funny.
It was lovely to be on. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thank you. See you later, everyone. Thank you for listening. Goodbye. See you. Love it. Bye. Bye.